Many of us are still perplexed at the nonlinear quantum field. We also have many questions like, does it really fluctuate between determinism and free will? Are we all part of this quantum field? And if so, does this not make us quantum observers? And if yes, how do we affect the quantum field? To seek answers to these questions, there are a few fields we need to look at. And the first field is what you would call timelines. We are all most probably aware of timelines from movies or from quantum physics. Timelines are within the quantum field, and you can manipulate them to change the end effect. The quantum field is made of pure potentiality, which is expressed as wave forms. Our consciousness is connected to the quantum field. So we could use the analogy that our consciousness is like an antenna. Our consciousness translates these waveforms, which then become an interference pattern, and then into particles. These particles create everything within the physical world, including us. We are touching upon the fundamental foundations of how the Divine Comedy was created for this play. The quantum field, which is the potentiality to create, express the waveforms, express the particles. However, there is more. It is so magical how these waveforms provide the potentiality to create such a reality. But it does not stop here. They also create the experience you have of past, present, and future in all possibilities. Within all these possibilities, you may have experienced the Mandala effect. This is an experience from another timeline that you are on. It is interacting with your current timeline. There is a connection. Each timeline contains past, present, and future. Most are unaware we are actually shifting timelines the majority of the time. Within the quantum field, these timelines have limitless potential in the way it knows which part of which timeline to activate and manifest and to materialize within the reality. This is done through a feedback loop, which which is part of this system in which a portion of all information of the system's output is used as an input for future materializations. When consciousness is functioning at this level of reality, it needs a feedback loop, as it's open to more than one interpretation. It's very ambiguous. So, how to guide this to create? The guiding force that directs this feedback loop within reality and to manifest within reality is you and the choices you make. So the answer to the three previous questions are yes, it does fluctuate. However, by our choices, we are all part of the quantum field. Yes to that question. Thirdly, are we quantum observers? Yes. By us being quantum observers, we create the fluctuations. So, our actions is what reality is responding to. We affect the feedback loop. Let me expand upon this. The field is countless possibilities that then reduce into probabilities through the choices that we make. There are many experiences in multiple timelines our consciousness can choose to take. Let's say, though, it's one to awakening to the true self, who we truly are. The quantum field then arranges a new trajectory. This means the more consciously self-aware we become that we are creating and reinforcing and reflecting our choices, the stronger the connection is established, and the feedback loop between us and all of the potential future versions of ourselves is linked. We then are aligning with, whilst this is occurring, the feedback loop, which then sends to us the resources we need so we can actualize them. This means simply that your choices now, your beliefs and your ideas you have about yourself, your cultural influences, the stories you tell yourself, especially what you think about yourself and others, are in this moment actualizing, activating potential versions of you. In other words, the experiences through the thoughts, feelings, and actions you do now, you will experience the actualization of them. They will manifest in this current timeline that you are now creating. So let us expand further. Within the Divine Comedy, this play of life, there are multiple versions of reality, of the reality you're experiencing now. So it follows we are always aligning, or we can say jumping timelines, whether you are aware of it or not. Let us go into more detail regarding these timelines. We have personal and collective timelines. Experiences we have continuously alter these timelines over and over again. Personal timelines are past, present, and future. Choices we make in our daily life. As stated, they are influenced by thoughts, feelings, and actions. We can, though, open up our personal timeline to contain entirely different potential futures. If we do not like what we are experiencing now, we can change it. So now let us talk about the collective timeline and the multiple timeline versions of reality that are here, now, and accessible. For a collective shift to another timeline, again, firstly, the individual timeline jump has to happen. What would happen can be explained in an analogy. Let's imagine in one of our past timelines, the one we're on now, that the Titanic did not sink. That would significantly alter the future of that timeline, and we would feel the effects of that timeline jump now. So our environment, personally and collectively, affects the input to our feedback loop. Let us use another analogy. Imagine NASA broadcasts breaking news 24/7 that dimensional beings had stepped into our timeline, and they are able to expand our consciousness, our awareness. Not long after this, the collective in our timeline would change. So our environment changes and creates that output of our feedback loop. This is because our collective consciousness transitions to a higher frequency. So the collective harnesses potential timelines into this timeline, this reality. To clarify this, all we are doing is turning chaos, the quantum field of pure potential, into the manifest, which is order. Now we have touched upon how we create as consciousness within our timelines and the quantum mechanics thereof. Let us expand to what is called the fifth dimension timeline. As you are aware, the majority of humanity is now going through what we could call a spiritual awakening. Well, on my timeline, this is occurring. Many have transitioned into higher states of consciousness to evolve to the fifth dimensional consciousness. The majority of us are in total harmony with this shift. So let us look at what is the fifth dimension timeline. What are its qualities? Dimensions are spatial measurements, or we could call them different spaces or settings for reality to create out of space and time. These spaces, which we will call dimensions here, are layered over each other, one above the other, and invisible to our human eye. There is no physical distance between any dimension. However, between them and us, there is what we could call a veil that sections off part of our consciousness to the perception of them. These veils are needed, otherwise it would be total chaos if we experience all dimensions through our physical eyes in one given time. We would not be able to focus on any single dimension or experience it just like we do in our 3D dimension. The qualities of these overlaid dimensions function, let's say, just like radio stations. So if you wish to access a specific dimension, you would then shift to that channel on the radio and would then be compatible with that frequency. Let's say your consciousness shifts onto a specific channel, an example being, say you like classical music, so you will tune in to that channel. It's the same, you tune in to a dimension. The fifth dimension is more flexible than our 3D. This is because it is not as physically solid as ours, due to it being of a higher vibrational state, which then makes it less dense, and the form we can take is also more flexible, easily pliable. Additionally, as this dimension does not have the same laws operating as the third dimension does, we are not defined in just one form or shape. How do we communicate then in the fifth dimension? This is done through heart-centered telepathy, not a mental form of telepathy, as you may be aware of in the physical 3D dimension. Communication is an experience through your consciousness, through your whole being, like a knowing that you comprehend spontaneously. In our 3D dimension, it is a different law. There is a time delay between us and what we manifest. This is due to what occurs between us and the time of manifestation. The time between is where, let's say, here you have growth and learning along your pathway. A being in the fifth dimension does not have that level of unconscious tension that attracts certain mirrored situations, like in the third dimension. Simplified, it means they do not have traumas, experiences of illness, poverty, etc. As we work on ourselves through the process of self-awareness, the traumas, we then evolve to that state of being, that frequency within the fifth dimension. One of the qualities within the fifth dimension and the beings is that the fifth dimensional beings do not have limited belief systems or cultural influences inside their emotional body as we do. Within us, we have the veils that veil us from our true form. They, however, are in the universal flow state. There is continuous synchronicities. There is no separation from the physical world and the internal world. This is a higher order of the universe, the fabric of reality that creates both mind and matter. Everything below the fifth dimension experiences what is called separation consciousness, the divine comedy, the play, where consciousness, the one, plays many different roles, many different identities, so that it may have the experience of separation, other. However, in the fifth dimension, the experience is unity consciousness. We are all the same being. We are all source.